Hey friends, welcome to Post to Post. It's Neil here. Thanks for clicking on this video and spending a couple of minutes with me. I appreciate it. Some interesting news was released regarding the NHL and viewership. Viewership is down in the NHL this season, and there's lots of opinions online, lots of opinions on Twitter specifically. I'm going to go over some of those. I've got opinions. I'm in that group of people who are watching less, if not no, NHL hockey this year. So I want to talk about the majority of the opinions out there, plus my experience from a personal perspective, why I'm not watching hockey, if it has anything to do with the same things that other people are saying, or maybe there's something specific about my personal, situation where I'm not watching hockey. Maybe it's not applicable to you, but I still want to talk about it because, this channel is about me, so I want to share my opinion. But let's start off with the official tweet that was released, kind of quoting the viewership. I just need to bring it up here on my computer. I'm going to read this to you, and then we'll go through some of the comments that people had, or some of the opinions, rather. So here we go. This is from Mark J. Burns on Twitter. It's at Mark J. Burns 88. NHL US TV national viewership is down 22% this season per findings from at Austin Carp. NHL regular games to date have averaged 373,000 viewers on ESPN and TNT, second season of the league's 7-year pact with Disney and Turner. NHL averaged 478,000 viewers at this point last season. So viewership is down as a whole 22% just on, ESPN and TNT. So this doesn't account for anything in Canada, Sportsnet, TSN, whoever else plays games in Canada. So this is very specific to these two companies, but it still is a pretty interesting picture that it's painting here. So I want to go through some of the comments on that tweet, some other tweets that I've seen floating around, and we can kind of talk through it. And I got a whole list here. So the number one thing that most people were talking about is blackouts. And this was by far the majority of the comments. It's a huge problem in the NHL. It's actually the main reason why I've stopped watching NHL hockey this season. I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But it's so difficult to watch hockey now. You've got to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 streaming services just to find a game that you want to watch that's not blacked out. So in my situation, I live in Fredericton, New Brunswick, which means technically Montreal is the home team. It's the local team. So if I go to watch that on Sportsnet Plus, which I've paid for this season, and it's blacked out for whatever reason, then that means that I probably have to watch it on cable, which I also have. I've got Bell, fiber, cable, whatever it is, and I can watch. I can bring up the guide in my app on my computer, and I can see everything, and I can watch games on there and stuff. But sometimes, actually the majority of the time, if it's blacked out on Sportsnet Plus, it's also blacked out on Bell. So my only option personally is to, number one, find some other streaming platform out there that has it, potentially, I don't know, or watch it illegally on some random link on Reddit or whatever. Those are my only two options if I want to watch the game. And so many people are in the same situation, and not just people who live in Fredericton, where I live, and people who live in Calgary, people who live in Colorado, and Florida, and Texas. Everyone across North America is having this issue because there's 1,005 different streaming platforms, and even if you have them, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be able to see the game. It's ridiculous. Why is it so hard to watch hockey? As consumers, we just want to watch the game, and we can't. This is a huge problem. And this was a problem since the beginning of the season. It's one of the first videos that I made starting this season, and it never got better after that. It never get better. So I've blown $200+ and whatever it was on Sportsnet Plus. I already pay for Bell Fiber. I'm going to have that anyway because it's part of my internet. But still, there's costs there. So I'm paying an egregious amount of money to want to watch hockey, but can't. Not all hockey. I'm just saying, I'm a Canadiens fan. I know I'm wearing Winnipeg here. I talk about all teams on this channel. But I want to watch Montreal games. And the majority of them, I almost can't. So it's very frustrating. Okay, let's move on. The second biggest one I found was the digital ad boards. I hate the digital ad boards. I think they're stupid when they don't work properly. When they work properly, that's fine. But even when they work properly, they still don't look real. It's because the frame rate doesn't match the frame rate of the actual game. If the camera is panning and they're shooting at 24 frames per second or 29 or 30 frames per second, but the boards, when it's panned digitally, it doesn't pan at the same frame rate. It pans at 120 frames per second, so it's still crisp, but everything else is blurry. That's a problem. That's not perfect. They need to dial that in. It doesn't look great. So it is an issue, but it's not a massive issue for me. I hate it, but it's not a reason that I would stop watching hockey unless it's, there's been a lot of mistakes or errors where the board is covering players, and that's happened. I haven't seen it too much personally, though. Okay, number 3, these are, I guess, in no particular order other than the first two. Everything after this is just kind of random ones I wrote down. Better interview questions. I saw that. I don't disagree. Hockey interview questions to players are the worst. They are the most softball questions, and the answers provided tell you absolutely nothing. They're not interesting. They're not valuable in any way. I just think that's a waste of time. It's a waste of the interviewer's time. It's a waste of the player's time. And it's a waste of the viewer's time as well. But it's not a reason that I would personally stop watching hockey, but someone else put it on there. Not a huge deal to me, but very small deal. The next, better personalities as hosts, play-by-play, color commentary. And I think this really depends on the broadcaster. So TNT has their people, ESPN would have their people, Sportsnet their people. And I think each place has really good people and also really bad people. So this is a really kind of subjective thing. I don't think as a whole, people are not watching hockey because of the analysis between the periods. I don't think that's why. Number 5 here that I have written down is homophobia. So I'm not going to go into the whole politics here of all this stuff. Obviously, there are issues in the NHL. There are what seems to be homophobic people in the NHL. And I think there's a microscopic amount of people that are not watching hockey this season because of that. But I don't think the vast majority of people stop watching hockey because of any homophobia issues in the NHL. It's not enough to get them to stop watching. Next on the list is the schedule. Schedule has always been wonky in the NHL, but I've noticed in the past couple of years, maybe just as we got out of the COVID seasons, things have been really weird. And things have been weird this season as well. I've not watched much hockey, if at all any hockey this year, but I have noticed the weird scheduling. There'll be like 14 games one night and like 2 the next night. And then, say it's a Sunday and there's 4 games on and they all start like within half an hour of one another. What are you doing? Like, I know that it's not easy to make schedules around other things that are going on around in these arenas and stuff, but that impacts viewership. If there's 4 games going on and I want to watch a bunch of hockey that day, maybe I've got the entire day off. I want to sit back and watch some hockey, and I get to watch one game. Well, I can flick to the other ones, but I can only truly watch one game. So the schedule has been a little bit wonky. The next one I saw a lot, actually. So it goes back to a bit to the analysis, the commentary, the color commentary, that stuff. But specifically, a lot of people are calling out Leah Hextall. Now, I'm not a fan of Leah Hextall. I don't mind her that much. I don't like her, though. She's not my favorite person who gives analytics or commentary or anything like that. I'm not on the Leah Hextall hate train. I know a lot of people just absolutely despise her. She is the reason that a lot of people turn off the TV. I personally wouldn't turn off the TV. I would still watch the game. I might mute it, but I don't. I'm not on the hate train for sure. She doesn't bother me that much. Number 8. This one is applicable to me. Sports betting ads. This has gone just insane. If you watch an NHL game and don't skip through the commercials, don't tune away during the whistle, the commercials, or anything like that, you will see at least probably 20 sports betting app ads. It's unbelievable, and it's so frustrating as someone who doesn't use the apps to bet. I could care less about sports betting, and it's everywhere right now. And it's not just on TV. I get emails once a week from companies asking me to promote their company, offering me money. Like decent money. I guess decent is relative, but money that would help me in my personal life. But I have to say no, because it's not a service or a product that I would use. I have a very strict rule on this channel. I only promote services or products that, number 1, I would use personally, and number 2, is directly applicable to the majority of my viewers. And it goes back to number 1. If I'm not going to use it, I'm not going to promote it. Even if the majority of you would use sports betting apps, and by the amount of people putting their money in there and they're making an egregious amount of money. I can't even, they'd be making probably billions or hundreds of millions of dollars because the majority of people lose money. I still wouldn't promote it because I don't use it personally. But they're just everywhere. It's you go on Instagram, you see an ad. You go on Facebook, you see an ad. It's on the TV. It's on YouTube. It's literally everywhere. It's overwhelming. The next one here I have is playoff format. So this is a bit of a silly one, although I agree it's a bit of a silly one. I don't think anyone out there, it would be, again, a microscopic amount of people. I don't think anyone is refusing to watch hockey, regular season hockey now, because of the playoff format not being great. I just don't see a lot of people having that opinion. I don't like the playoff format. I want 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7. That's what I want. That's the traditionalist in me. I would love to see that. I do not like the current playoff format, but it's not a reason for me to stop watching hockey. Now I wanted to kind of dive into a very specific person's opinion here. Carlo Koliakovo used to be a former NHL player, and he tweeted out these, and we'll kind of go through them here one at a time. No rivalries. That's what he says is the issue. No rivalries. I have to disagree with this one a little bit. Now, I know that I've not watched a lot of hockey this season, but I still think that there's rivalries in the NHL. There's always going to be rivalries. We might not get the epic Colorado-Detroit rivalry from the late 90s, early 2000s, or the Boston-Montreal rivalry. You could say that it doesn't exist anymore. And the Toronto-Montreal one is always going to be there, but it's not real. There's not a lot of fire behind that right now. So he's not wrong, but I don't think a lot of people are stopping to watch hockey or stopping their viewership of hockey because there's no rivalries. The next thing he has here is lacking storylines. So I guess he's probably right here. There's not really a lot that's going on in the NHL this season. While I don't make a lot of hockey content on day-to-day, NHL content, I still see what others are making. I don't watch it, but I see the titles, I see the thumbnails and stuff. And there's not really a lot of compelling storylines. Like, he's right with that word storylines. There's not a lot going on. The next thing he has here is more buzz around talk of trades than actual trades. This has been true for probably the past decade. People get so hyped up around trade deadline day. They like the trades. It's exciting, but it's the possibility of the trades that people get more excited about. They love the rumors. They love trying to figure out, what player is your team going to go after or their team going to go after. And, everyone has that one player on the team that they don't really like that much or whatever, and maybe then they'll get traded away or something. They like the rumor and the hype around it versus the actual trade that happens. That is definitely true. Poor marketing of stars is the next thing that Carlo has here. I don't know. I guess it would depend maybe on where you live, because here in Canada, I still see the Crosby Tim Hortons stuff and the McKinnon Tim Hortons stuff, and McDavid is everywhere. And so I see all of that. I don't know what it's like in the United States. If you live in Colorado, you're probably seeing McKinnon stuff, but you're likely not seeing McKinnon stuff. And from a broad perspective, you're likely seeing some Broncos stuff or whatever. And in Florida, you're likely not seeing too many of hockey-related ads. It's probably football or something. Those are the athletes that are getting promoted, not really hockey ones. So it's difficult for me to kind of agree or disagree with that one, because just based on location. He also has too many math equations. I don't know what this means. I don't know. I'm just going to skip it because I don't know. Horrible playoff format. So we've already talked about that, but he did include it as well. And then there was a couple more that I saw online just floating around after that I wrote down. Officiating. Apparently officiating has been terrible this year, and officiating's been questionable for, we'll say forever, really. But I guess there's been a lot of controversial calls in the past couple of years, and in the playoffs as well, which is really frustrating. But I guess this year's been specifically very bad. And the next one I have here is salary cap. So I have to strongly disagree with this one. People hate the salary cap, and I really, really disagree. Because I don't want to see, I don't want to see Detroit go out and spend $150 million or whatever it is that they want to spend, get the most amazing team ever, and win 4 Stanley Cups in a row, and have Arizona or Ottawa sit in the dungeon. I guess they're kind of there now a little bit, but still sit there and not do anything forever. And while I'm a Canadiens fan, and Montreal's got a lot of money, they could put together an incredible team with a lot of money and do very well. I still don't want that, because even my favorite team, I don't want to go see them win 5 Stanley Cups in a row. I find that boring. I am always rooting for the underdog. Not always, but the majority of the time, I root for the underdog. That is a more compelling story to me. The most boring story to me is when a team goes on a massive run, like, Tampa Bay, and they're constantly in the finals, and maybe they win the majority of them or whatever. To me, that's boring. I appreciate it. It's an incredible accomplishment, but I just don't find it interesting from a story, perspective. And that's kind of it that I had written down here, but I just want to talk, I guess, for a bit from a personal standpoint here, talk about why I have not watched any or many hockey games this year. So I guess this is a really, really personal thing. This isn't going to relate to a lot of people or anyone. So I started making videos on YouTube in 2017, the beginning of 2017. January 1st, I believe, was the first day that I uploaded a video. So we are on, year 6 or whatever it is of this. And it's been a long journey. I've made over 2,500 episodes, hockey-related YouTube videos, and not including the podcast, which were each an hour long. I think there were 150 plus of those. So I've talked a lot of hockey in the past 5 or 6 years. And after a while, after making over 2,500 videos, plus the podcast, and in 2,000 days or less, basically, it's a lot. So I've put a lot of time and invested a lot of my life into talking hockey. and it's definitely grown a little bit old, but that's just a small part of it, very, very small part of it. But it's worth noting just from, from my lens. The next thing I wrote down here is enjoying other things in life. So I mean, like, for a while, I didn't watch a movie. For years, I never really watched a movie, TV series. I've never played a video game, didn't play board games, because I was so obsessed with making videos and trying to grow the channel and stuff. And I really kind of lost sight of that free time that I used to have. And recently I've been spending a lot of free time, playing video games and playing board games and stuff, and, personal relationships and traveling and stuff. And that's been really valuable to me. I've really enjoyed kind of getting back into that stuff. It means less videos for the channel. It means less growth for the channel, but it means a more happy Neil. And I don't feel bad about that at all. So that's another reason why I've watched less hockey. It's because I'm just kind of enjoying other things in life, really. And I think we all kind of go through those phases. I'm sure there's people who watch this channel now who maybe used to watch it 3 years ago religiously and then maybe stopped, and now maybe they're back, or, we all go through phases, and I think that's normal. The next thing here is busy with my real job. Yeah, that's the bold truth. I work very hard at my regular job, my regular day job. I don't do this full time, not even close to full time. If I did, you'd probably see like 4 or 5 videos a day. But yeah, I spend a lot of time trying to be the best person I can at my job. So that's the truth. The next one I have written down here, and this is a big one actually. It's not fun to talk day-to-day hockey by myself. When I did talk hockey on the channel, I talked a lot with Jason and with Dad on the podcast and in videos, and I think Justin was around for the first 40 or 50 videos on the channel way back when the original channel first started. And I've always enjoyed having conversations around day-to-day hockey with another person, with another human being, to have that back and forth, to share opinions, to disagree and agree, and talk things out. I find it not enjoyable at all to talk about day-to-day hockey by myself. I'm just talking to a camera. I can't interact with anyone. I've got to wait hours before I can see anyone's feedback or opinion, even if they agree or disagree. I still got to wait. So it's not really engaging for me. It's not really interesting. And more importantly, and this is the last thing on my list here, is there are other channels who are doing it and doing a better job than I could ever do it. I can name probably 10 off the top of my head here on YouTube that are just doing a fantastic job talking about day-to-day NHL hockey. And while I used to do that, and at times it was a lot of fun because I could have conversations with people, I just think that because they're doing a better job of it, because they're doing more of it, even if I tried, they would still be doing more of it. So they're doing more, they're doing it better. And I think you would probably enjoy their videos more than you would mine if I started talking about NHL hockey day-to-day again. So that's why you've seen less NHL hockey talk from me. I can't talk about also something that I don't watch. I've not watched NHL hockey this year, really, so I don't even have an opinion. I'm wearing the Winnipeg Jets for this video. Just a random jersey I grabbed off the shelf. I could not tell you where the Jets are in the standings. I have not checked in weeks or maybe a month. I have no idea how the Jets are doing this year. And I feel ashamed to say that. I feel ashamed. I don't want the NHL to hear this because I feel bad. Because I'm a hockey YouTuber. I should be promoting hockey. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying that I don't watch hockey. So I feel bad about that. And I don't want to not promote hockey. I think people should watch hockey. I don't want this to be a negative video. But clearly, 22% of people are doing other things. Viewership is down 22%. And maybe it's for some of the reasons that I made, or I listed that I read off from Twitter and I wrote down that we discussed earlier. Maybe some of it is, kind of what I said from a personal perspective. Maybe you guys are doing other things with your life and you don't really, aren't really interested in hockey this year. Maybe there's not a lot of storylines. Who knows? There's no really wrong reason why someone else is doing something other than watching hockey. Obviously, that stuff is important to them, or they're just really uninterested in hockey. There's nothing wrong with that either. So although I do feel guilty about not watching hockey this season, at the end of the day, I don't really care that much because, you know what? I'm happy. And I think that's the best thing you can kind of take away from this. Whether you're watching hockey or whether you're not, if you're happy, it's all good. And if watching hockey makes you more happy, man, watch more hockey. If watching less hockey makes you happy, watch less hockey. So the NHL in general has a viewership problem this year, and it probably has to do with a lot of what I mentioned earlier. But I think just circling this all back, the number one thing is blackouts. Why is it so difficult to watch a hockey game? There are some nights that I want to tune in and watch my Montreal Canadiens, and although they're not doing very good, actually they're doing terrible, and my second favorite team, San Jose, is also doing terrible. If I want to tune in just to catch a period, or maybe a couple of minutes, or maybe to check on the score, and I can't, guess what? I'm going to go do something else, and I'm likely not going to think about it the next day, and I'll think, oh, it's just going to be blacked out, so I'm not even going to check. I'll just go do whatever I was going to go do. So the NHL has an issue, and they need to figure it out. Figure it out, NHL, because people are going to stop watching even more if they can't actually watch the games that they want to watch. Some people will go watch streams illegally, and that's totally fine. But if I'm going to watch a game, I want to watch it for a service that I've already paid for, with the expectation that it's going to be and should be available to me. I live in Fredericton. Montreal is not a local team to me. I should be able to watch any team in Canada whenever there is a game on. There is no local team for me. If you live in Montreal, maybe it's a little bit different. If you live in Toronto, maybe it's a little bit different. But for me, there's nothing close to me. There is no local team. So why are you forcing it upon me? So frustrating. Anyway, leave your opinion down below in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. What boat are you in? Do you hate the digital ad boards and that's the main reason? Is it the blackouts? There's no real wrong reason. There's no real wrong amount of hockey that you watch. If you watch every game, awesome. If you watch one game a week, awesome. Like there's no right or wrong here. It's all from a personal perspective, and I'd love to hear your perspective down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it. It was a little heated. We gave our opinions. We had some strong opinions, but at the end of the day, we want to love hockey. So we want to see the things that are wrong fixed. So hopefully the NHL listens, maybe not to this video, but all the opinions on Twitter, other videos that people make. They gotta look at the stats too. Gotta look at the 22%. They've got to do something. So let's get it back to 100%. Or let's get it back to good viewership, because the NHL needs to fix this to get it back. So let's hope they do. Appreciate you watching. Hope you're having a great day. If you're new, please consider hitting the subscribe button. If you did enjoy this conversation, hit the like button. Talk to you guys soon. Adios.